Somewhere, right now, someone has been doing everything right for months, showing up, putting in the work, and nothing has changed yet. No sign it's working, no proof it will. Somewhere else, someone is sitting beside a hospital bed, watching a slow recovery that has no fixed date, just day after day of small, invisible progress. Neither of them can rush what they're waiting for. And that, more than anything else, is the hardest part. This episode is about that exact discomfort, and why the ability to sit inside it without giving up might be the most underrated strength a person can build. The lie about patience. Most people think of patience as passive, as simply waiting, doing nothing, letting time pass. That understanding is comfortable, and it's also the reason so many people fail at it. Real patience is not passive at all. It is one of the most active disciplines there is. The discipline of continuing to do the right things, consistently, without any guarantee of when or whether they will pay off. Picture a farmer. He plants a seed in the spring. He doesn't dig it up every few days to check if it's growing. That would kill it. Instead, he keeps watering, keeps tending the soil, through weeks where absolutely nothing visible happens above ground. That is not passivity. That is disciplined action, sustained through invisible progress. And it's exactly what patience asks of a person. Why impatience quietly sabotages everything. Here is what impatience actually costs a person, though it rarely announces itself as impatience. Picture someone who starts something new, a skill, a business, a relationship, full of energy. 3 weeks in, when the results haven't matched the effort yet, they quit. Not loudly, just quietly move on to the next thing, telling themselves this one wasn't really working anyway. 6 months later, they do the same thing with something else, and again. The tragedy is never a single failure. It's the pattern, abandoning things at the exact moment they were about to compound into something real, because the person mistook not yet visible for not working. Almost everything valuable in life follows this same shape. A long stretch of invisible effort, followed by a disproportionately fast payoff at the end. Impatience guarantees a person never reaches that second part, because they leave during the first. Patience in relationships and respect. Patience is not only about waiting for outcomes. It's also about how a person treats people who move at a different pace than they do. Picture someone correcting a coworker's mistake for the 3rd time in a week. There is a version of this moment where frustration wins. A sharp comment, a sigh, a tone that says, "Why can't you just get this already?" And there's another version. The same correction, given calmly, without making the other person feel small. Because the person giving it remembers that everyone learns at their own pace, including themselves once. That second version is not weakness. It takes far more self-control to stay patient with someone's pace than it does to snap at it. And it is, quietly, one of the clearest signs of respect a person can offer another human being. Patience in mastery and work. Nothing that requires real skill can be rushed into existence. Picture 2 people learning the same craft. One wants to feel like an expert within the first month, and when they don't, they either quit, or worse, they start cutting corners to fake the appearance of skill they don't yet have. The other accepts, from the beginning, that competence has a timeline they don't control. They keep doing the basic, unglamorous repetitions, the ones that don't feel impressive, long after it stops being exciting. Years later, only one of them is actually skilled. Not because they were more talented, because they were more patient with the actual timeline mastery requires, instead of the timeline their ego wanted. Patience through loss and hardship. There is a specific kind of patience that has nothing to do with achieving a goal. The patience required simply to get through something painful, one day at a time, with no fixed end date. Picture someone grieving a loss. There is no schedule for healing. No one can tell them, "You'll feel normal again by Tuesday." The temptation in that kind of pain is to demand an answer. When does this end? And to feel betrayed when the world doesn't provide one. The alternative is harder and quieter. To stop demanding a timeline and instead simply be present in each day as it comes, trusting that time is doing something even when it doesn't feel like it. This is not resignation. It is patience applied to pain instead of ambition. And it is, in its own way, just as disciplined.
The season, not the harvest. Every farmer understands something most people forget. The season and the harvest are not the same thing, and you cannot skip one to get to the other. The season is unglamorous. It is watering soil that shows nothing yet. It is showing up to work that hasn't paid off. It is loving someone through a hard stretch with no proof it will improve. It is healing without a deadline. Almost everyone wants the harvest. Very few people are willing to fully live inside the season, to stop treating it as an obstacle between them and the result, and instead treat it as the actual work itself. But the season is where the real character gets built, not the harvest. The harvest is just the moment the invisible work finally becomes visible. The practice, not the moment. Patience, like everything else in this series, is never built in one dramatic act of waiting. It's built in the small, repeated choice not to quit on the days when nothing seems to be happening. The watered seed that shows no shoot yet. The correction given calmly for the 4th time. The craft practiced without applause. The grief carried one day at a time, with no calendar telling you when it ends. None of it feels significant while it's happening, but it accumulates, quietly, into the kind of person who can sit inside uncertainty without breaking, who can tend something invisible for as long as it takes. That is the season that cannot be rushed. Not because waiting is easy, but because you will have already trained yourself to wait well.